Our next debate involves candidates for House District 17. This is the new district that involves Sevier and Jefferson counties. From the left on stage are Mike Dockery, the Democratic nominee, and the Republicans, Roger Griffith, Andrew Farmer, and Larry Boggs. We'll rotate questions so that nobody gets the advantage of going first or last every time. First question. There seem to be some differing points of view regarding school vouchers based on your interview with the new Senate. Explain your positions, please, starting with Mr. Dockery.
I personally am against school vouchers. I believe that we need to support our public education program. I think school vouchers will detract from that. It will draw down funds that could be used for betterment of public schools.
Mr. Griffith.
Right now, over 18 states have a voucher program. And in those 18 states, it has worked very well. I think if we have parents that have kids in failing schools, they need to have the opportunity to have choice. I believe choice will improve education in all areas. And just like the program in Indiana, it actually has provided more money for the public schools because the students, when they left to go to a different school, would only take a portion of their government-funded money, so the remainder stayed at the school. So we can provide choice for students, we can give parents a choice, and then we can also improve our public schools. Competition has been proven in these 18 states to improve the public school system. So I believe I am a proponent of choice.
Mr. Farmer.
I oppose school voucher systems in regards to vouchers for homeschool and private school. It's my position that if someone wants to keep their kids home and school them there, that's their position. That's their choice. If someone wants to send their kids to private school, they need to foot the bill, because all that does is destroy, degrade our public education system. Thomas Jefferson was one of the biggest advocates for public education, and there was a reason for that. Because once we start giving money for those who want to go be taught at home, for those who want to be taught at private schools, essentially the taxpayer is picking up the bill, footing the bill for that, and that just takes away from money that could be used for public education. Okay, now I'm not saying I'm against charter schools. I'm fine with charter schools as long as they're privately funded. I don't believe that the tax dollars, hard-earned tax dollars for every one of you all sitting out in this room and across the state of Tennessee should be used just because someone feels like public education, our public schools, isn't good enough for their kids. I'm a product of public education.
Mr. Boggs.
I'm in favor of vouchers. As Roger said, 18 states use them and use them very successfully. The big sinkhole we've got up there called the District of Columbia used vouchers for 4 years very successfully and moved a lot of kids that didn't have a choice in the urban situations they were in out into good additional educational opportunities. It was very successful until the Obama administration killed it. I think the opportunity to move children around to get them out of undesirable schools that aren't performing is extremely important, and I'm in favor of vouchers.
I should add before we go to the next question that the candidates, these four candidates, agreed to limit their responses to 60 seconds instead of 90 because we have 4 instead of 2. Our next question will be from Greg Johnson.
Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Unemployment in Tennessee is 7.9%, and in Sevier County it's 10.7%. What specifically would you do to create jobs in the state of Tennessee, but especially in Sevier County?
There are several things I would do to foster a climate in our state where businesses can thrive and create jobs. Of course, government doesn't create jobs, but we can provide an environment where jobs are created. First of all, I think we need to cut state spending so that gives us the opportunity to cut taxes. Taxes and regulations are the burden to small business owners, and when we can reduce the regulations on our businesses, then we can help businesses survive. Now, there's some specific things I would like to do. I've already laid out several ways to cut spending at the state level, including programs like the Tennessee Solar Institute, state-run golf courses that are in the red, different things like that, the switchgrass program. So there's some specific things that we can do to cut expenses and cut spending at the state level. And then if we do things like tort reform and pass legislation that would promote more tourism in this area and infrastructure, then we can create more jobs.
Mr. Farmer.
Governor Haslam and a lot of other people feel that it's not the legislature's position to create jobs. Once again, the legislature and state governor are there to create an environment that be conducive to attract jobs, especially here in Sevier County, throughout the state. Not only create an environment conducive to attract those jobs, we need to maintain an environment to keep the jobs that we have. Being a small business owner myself, I understand the burden, the taxes that I pay. We need to create tax incentives for the local businesses to thrive. The private sector is where it's at. Government needs to get in and not overregulate and not overtax and allow the private sector to thrive. Specifically, what I like to see here in Sevier County is more long-term jobs. We have seasonal jobs to do us all season, but we don't have those high-paying jobs that have the health care benefits and stuff that I've heard folks talking about here in Sevier County for years.
Mr. Boggs.
I think there needs to be a more coordinated effort between the legislature and the State Industrial Board and the local Chamber of Commerce's and the local industrial boards. Sevier County is an excellent example that you've lived over here and existed on the tourist trade, and that's wonderful. It was really good until 4 years ago when the bottom fell out of the markets and the tourist trade sort of went in the tank. You got to diversify your base, your job base. It's like you diversify a tax base. So that needs to be looked at. It needs to be worked with your legislature, with your representative in the legislature. Having a strong business background as I have, I think I'm uniquely qualified to meet those potential businesses and to work with the legislature and the Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Dockery.
Being a small business owner, I think that any incentives that you can give to small businesses would be great. I believe that East Tennessee is very friendly to small business. I've been, out of my 38 years in construction, I've spent 28 self-employed, mostly within the state. I do believe that that the state could look towards putting work programs in place to improve the infrastructure so that we can put people who are unemployed to work now.
Our next question comes from the audience. Paul Lambert from Kodak wants to know, Tennessee ranks #2 for fire deaths in the nation. If elected, what would you do to address the problem? And what would you do for the fire service as far as finances for equipment and buildings, etc.? And we will start this time with Mr. Farmer.
Thank you. There's nothing more that I believe in the community needs is a good fire department. Our firemen do a lot for our community. Our volunteer firemen do a lot for our community. If I had the opportunity to go down to Nashville and argue for those folks, the police and fire, and those folks that keep us safe at night and day, then I would do all I can to get grant money sent back to Sevierville. And that's one thing. We need to send a representative to Nashville that's going to take Sevier County tax dollars that's sent down to Nashville and bring it back to the county. Bring it back to the 17th district. We need a representative that's going to go down and argue and fight for that money, because that money is going to Shelby County, that money is going to Davidson County, and we send down, I think we send either first or second most tax dollars down to Nashville, and we're probably in the bottom 10 of getting those tax dollars back. So what I'd do, I'd go down there and I'd argue, I'd fight, and I'd make friends with the right people and allies to get some tax money back to Sevier County.
Mr. Boggs.
One reason Tennessee ranks so high in the fire death ratio is because we're dependent on volunteer fire departments in many of our rural areas. That's the weakest link I see in the chain of civil protection we have in the state. If I were fortunate enough to represent you in Nashville, I would work closely with the entire legislature to get an incentive program set up to help reimburse the local governments in these smaller towns to help fund the rural fire departments that are all primarily voluntary. There's only a certain amount of money that's available, but that's one place that you can spend it that would have an immediate impact and save lives.
Mr. Dockery.
Having grown up here in Sevierville with the Sevierville Volunteer Fire Department, I think it won award after award after award. I think it's a good pattern for what fire departments ought to be. The state itself, I think, should contribute more to these volunteer fire departments in training. I think that we have a lot of good-hearted people out there, especially where I live now over in Newmarket. We have an excellent group of people who are willing to get up at any time of the day or night, because I live right down from them and they wake me up every time they go out. I think that these people could definitely benefit from training.
Mr. Griffith.
One of the major causes of fire deaths is the inability of people to get out of the residence. As a mechanical engineer in my business, I design sprinkler systems. And the things that we can do to be most helpful to prevent and to eliminate fire deaths is to encourage, promote, and help fund the installation of sprinkler systems in residential and commercial buildings. We can do that and encourage that on the state level. And we can do that by enforcing codes. We can also do that by having matching grant programs that allows incentives and we can promote incentives for insurance companies to give people breaks on the insurance. As a county commissioner, I've also helped provide funding for local fire departments. And from the state level, we need to have matching grants for our municipalities and local governments so our first responders can have the equipment and the training that they need.
Mr. Farmer.
I'll begin the question.
Next question will be from Derek Hodges.
Well, we have a mix of Sevier County and Jefferson County folks here. You're probably all aware Jefferson County has 4 exits on Interstate 40, not counting the I-81 interchange. Those 4 combined annually handle less traffic than the 1 exit in Sevier County. There's an effort to get another exit here in the county. Do you support that? And if elected, how would you work to make that a reality?
Mr. Boggs.
I'm not aware of the exact routing of the proposed new exit. If it is, makes good sense as far as the infrastructure of the town and it facilitates the traffic, I would certainly support it. Anybody who's sat on 66 out there for an hour and a half trying to get to Pigeon Forge should support it, I would think. And it is a bottleneck that affects your tourist industry. And if it's not improved one way or other, you're going to start to turn the tourist industry off. You're going to go somewhere else. Yes, I would support it.
Mr. Dockery.
I too would like to know where this exit is. If it is closer to my property, I'm definitely in favor of it. My understanding was the Bush brothers were supposed to get an exit or at least an upgrade in their roads. And I think that basically, and not because I own property up there, but also because I own property up there, that end of the county is being neglected. And I think another exit up there would improve the livelihood of the people up there, at least give us access to the rest of the world more quickly.
Mr. Griffith.
Sevier County, with its economic engine that's created through tourism, needs another exit, and I would definitely support that. We also need to improve the existing exit with the divergent diamond design that's been proposed. We need to be able to get more people into the county to promote tourism and development. There's also the possibility, if we can include an exit at 408, 409, somewhere in that area, that not only do we get more people into the county, and we have to look at where's the best place to end that and all the issues around where does that come back into, is that Sevierville, Pigeon Forge? So there's some issues there that have to be studied. But to create and to enhance the growth of tourism, I think it's important for this county to have another exit. I don't think Jefferson County is interested in giving any up, but I think we need to add one for Sevier County.
Mr. Farmer.
Hey, could you repeat the question, please?
I'll do it in summary. Would you support an effort to add another interstate interchange in Sevier County, and how would you work for that?
Okay. I've seen Highway 66 grow. I watched it turn into 2 lanes on each side. Now I'm watching it turn into 3 lanes on each side. I travel that road quite frequently out towards the interstate. I know how heavy the traffic is. I know how long you have to wait sometimes to get somewhere, especially when you're in a hurry. My position on an exit would be this. I would like to know the risk to the stores, to the businesses located off the exit. I'd like to know the benefit of an exit located somewhere else before I would make that determination. I know we have the Smoky Stadium over there. I know we have several restaurants located off the exit. We have Cracker Barrel, Chop House. We have several gas stations located on the exit, and everything coming into Highway 66. Now I have a district to think about. I don't get to just think about Northern Sevier County. I'm going to represent District 17. That means a good portion of Jefferson County too. So I'd have to weigh the risk versus the benefit before I'd be able to tell you if I was for an additional exit.
I'm sure all of you consider yourselves pro-business as well as pro-Second Amendment. In the legislature this year, a bill was introduced that would have allowed employees to bring loaded handguns and leave them in their cars in the parking lots of where they work. The business community and law enforcement urged that bill not pass. The NRA, of course, supported it. The bill was withdrawn, but is likely to come up again next year. When it does, will you vote for it or will you vote against it? Starting with Mr. Dockery.
I will vote against it. As a small business owner, there was a time when I was a bigger business owner, and I feel like if each man has the right to say what goes on his property, he has the right to say what goes in his business. And I don't care for my employees to have loaded weapons in their vehicles. And I don't think it's a good thing across the state. We don't need, the fewer loaded weapons there are on the street, the better off humanity is.
Mr. Griffith.
I would support this bill that's called the Guns in Parking Lot. As a small business owner, I feel the tension between the right to keep and bear arms, but also the right of a small business owner. However, when someone pulls into my parking lot, their vehicle, if it is locked, and that was a part of that bill, I believe, that the car had to be locked. I do not own the contents of that car once they pull into the parking lot. And I believe the fundamental right to keep and bear arms trumps the business owner's rights in this particular point. There is a tension between those two, but there are many people in our area that get in their cars every morning, go to work, and afterwards they want to go hunting or they want to go to the shooting range or they want to carry a gun to protect themselves. It is not the right of a business owner to deny an individual that right, and I would support that bill.
Mr. Farmer.
I'm a member of the NRA. I'm a member of the Tennessee Firearms Association. I have my carry permit. I exercise my constitutional right to carry a gun. This is a difficult issue for me, especially being an attorney. I've looked at landowners' rights. Alienation of property is one of the hardest things you can do. It's like this. If you can tell someone not to go hunting on your land, then what do you think you could tell somebody that they couldn't bring a gun onto your property? I'm a business owner. I don't disagree that folks shouldn't be able to carry firearms in their vehicles, because when I leave work at night, I leave late, 11, 12 o'clock from the courthouse. I have to walk through a back alley, and you better believe 90% of the time I have my .38 in my pocket, because the last thing I want to happen is somebody come up to me, hurt me, shoot me, stab me, especially after what happened a couple of years ago in Knoxville. That really hit home for me. So I would support the bill allowing folks to carry guns in their vehicles.
Mr. Boggs.
I'm a member of the NRA, and I strongly believe in the Second Amendment, and I have a carry permit. I would not have supported the bill that was introduced in the legislation this year, even though the NRA backed it strongly. I would support, and I think would be inappropriate, to pass a bill that would allow guns and cars in the parking lots only by licensed carry holders, because that license to carry is a screening mechanism that keeps some of the higher risk elements out of that. So I would support it with that proviso, and I think it'll probably be reintroduced this year with that proviso that you've got to have a licensed carry permit to have it in the vehicle.
Do any of the candidates want to say anything more on this? Okay, we'll go to an audience question from Terry Robinson of Talbot. Do you believe, or is it Terry Robinson Talbot? Okay. Do you believe tougher DUI laws are needed? And if so, what do you propose? It is, yes, it's your turn, Mr. Griffith.
Okay. Yes, I do support tougher DUI laws. So far this year, or last year, there were 283 deaths in our state due to drunk driving. Fatalities, and that says one, we've got too many drunk drivers on the road, and too many people are dying because of drunk driving. There are several things I would support, requiring ignition interlocks for first-time offenders. Several states, 16 states do that right now, to have ignition interlocks in their cars. I would also want to treat DUIs as a Class E felony on the third offense. Right now it's a fourth offense. There are some things that we can fundamentally do to keep drunk drivers off the road. Now, I have a lot of difference in agreement with my opponent on this because I think we should have tough laws. Mr. Farmer makes his living defending drunk drivers and selling liquor at his liquor store. And I just think fundamentally we need to keep it off, not promote it.
Mr. Farmer, you're up next.
I appreciate that, and I'm against. I don't agree with anyone out getting behind the vehicle and driving drunk. We don't need any more drunk drivers than we already have on the road. Interlock's a good idea, but what's better is ankle monitors. You can monitor someone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thirdly, in regards to my liquor store, that's the second time I've been attacked, by the way. That was my wife's grandfather's, a World War II veteran. He's laid up over in a nursing home with dementia right now. And her brother took over running that just soon after he got so bad he couldn't run it. He had a massive heart attack. Family asked me to take over, have a bachelor's in business administration. So I took that opportunity to help my family out and save the inheritance. So that's the story on the liquor store. I appreciate bringing that
up. Mr. Boggs.
On the same subject, I find it interesting in the 3 previous debates, the subject of a liquor store never came up. Andrew told us repeatedly he had 2 small businesses. He had a title company and a law firm, and he had 7 employees. And he thereby was qualified as a small businessman and understood the problems. I don't know why he chose to hide or mask the fact that he had a liquor store. And he described it basically as a family business that he had to salvage and rescue. I flipped open the yellow pages, Smoky Mountain yellow pages, and that big display there says it's the biggest, most popular liquor store in the county. That's not a small business, in my opinion. And that should have been disclosed up front to begin with in the campaign. I think it's a disservice to the voters of the county not to do so. I think the laws on DUI should be strengthened. I'm for a seizure of assets on the third offense. You got to make it expensive for the person to encourage them to quit driving.
I'll give you a shot again, Mr. Farmer, after Mr. Dockery speaks.
I'll be brief. I think it's a no-brainer. We need to keep drunks off the roads, whatever we have to do. I think the laws many times are not rigidly enforced that we have. I think everything that we can do to keep drunks off the street or off the roads is necessary. I would support stronger enforcement and stronger laws against drinking and driving.
You want to respond to Mr. Boggs?
Yes, I may. I went to school for. Is it still on? Is it on? Battery went out. Thank you. I worked really hard going to school. I was the first person to graduate from my dad's side of the family in college. I went to ETSU undergrad, I went to law school in Lansing, Michigan. I worked hard for my education. I worked hard to open my office. Started out with me and my sister, a little rickety desk. I worked hard to open that. I worked hard to open my title company. I worked almost 4 years now establishing these businesses. The package store was something that I never intended to get into. I don't consider it a business that I started. It's a business that I may facilitate at this point in time. It's something that I don't intend on keeping. I don't intend on making a career out of. And as soon as it's on its feet and ready to go, that's something that'll be put behind me. Thank you.
Mr. Boggs, do you consider owning a liquor store to be an inappropriate business for someone?
No, they're not, and for clarification, I consume liquor. I don't have a problem with that from a personal standpoint. That's an individual decision on my part. I do, though, think that it's a disservice to the citizens of the county not to disclose it when he made such a strong point out of the fact that he owned 2 businesses and had 6 or 7 employees is all he had. He clearly was trying to hide the fact that he was involved in the liquor business. I think, again, that's a disservice to the people of the county.
Any other candidate other than Mr. Farmer who wants to say something? All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I disclosed this to the entire state of Tennessee and anyone wanted to look. I filed a statement of disclosure of any interest that I had. So there wasn't a person here that couldn't have looked and seen what I've done. I haven't hidden anything. I just answered the questions that I've been asked, and I answered the questions in regards to the businesses that I started.
Let's move on. Mr. Johnson, Greg Johnson will have the next question.
Mr. Farmer, this one is just the next question in order. There's been some you've discussed in the past the National Education Association, and then this past week with Tom Humphrey, you clarified that and said that the Tennessee Education Association has done, quote, some good things. In the 2011 annual report, the TEA's Political Action Committee had donated 95% of their money to Democrats. They'd given to 29 Democrats and only 3 Republicans. They're obviously intent on putting the Republicans back in the minority. What good things has the Tennessee Education Association done?
They've supported the teachers that educate our children here in the state of Tennessee. Just because I support someone doesn't mean I agree with their politics. The NEA lost sight of their mission statement that they had early in probably the mid-1800s. They've gone consistently left since then. And I think the further down the line you get in regards to organizations, being the NEA, the national organization, on down to the Tennessee Education Association, I think once they become closer involved with our kids, because this is what this is about, is the children. And once they get down closer involved with the kids, I think that they have supported our teachers. And their PAC may donate to the Democrats, but I don't agree with that. I agree with what they do for our teachers, especially when it results in a positive impact on our kids.
Mr. Boggs.
Could you summarize the statement question right quick?
I'll rephrase it just a little bit. What's your opinion of the Tennessee Education Association?
I'm totally opposed to any public employee unions. Franklin D. Roosevelt was opposed to an employee union is a dichotomy in honesty. The employee is taking money from the taxpayer and turning around and trying to negotiate with the taxpayer for more money for next year. So I'm opposed to it. The TEA apparently has had some controls put on it by the legislature and Governor Haslam, and if that continues in that direction, that's fine. But the NEA is the worst thing that's happened in this country in generations. They're the cash cow for the Democratic Party. They're the largest union in the country and the biggest financial contributor. And that needs to be brought to a halt somehow. And the TEA does contribute to the NEA. Don't think they don't.
Mr. Dockery.
There's good days and there's bad days. You're standing up here a pro-union man. After the applause that we just heard, it's a bad day. I'll tell you my story in reference to the TEA. My life got better when I joined the Carpenters Union. It took a major step forward. Suddenly I was a professional. I had someone representing me. I had people. I'm going to ask for 30 more seconds on this one. Okay. My life got better because I had benefits. I had someone to negotiate a wage for me. I had collective bargaining. No employer was ever forced to sign that agreement. He signed it because he knew it was in his best interest. The better off your teachers are, the better education your children are going to get. And if you take anything at all away from them that protects them or helps them organize, you've done a travesty to your children, not to your teachers. What the state did to the TEA was not worthwhile. It didn't deserve a vote. They are not a collective bargaining agency. It was told by a lot of people that they were. We got the red flag. In any case, I'm pro-union. I'm pro-TEA.
I'm starting to feel like I'm standing between two Democrats. Listen, you can try to make a distinction between the NEA and the TEA. They're a parent organization. The NEA is a parent organization to the TEA. The NEA assigns a lobbyist to the state organizations. You can't say one's good and one's bad. In fact, if you go online and look at the educational and legislative policies of the NEA and the TEA, beyond saying we want to support teachers and help educate children, I can't find a whole lot that I agree with when it comes to the NEA's policies of a very liberal policy. And obviously, my opponents are wanting to be the 29 and the 3 that get supported by the Public Teachers Union. But we need education reform, and teachers need to be a part of that. But the Teachers Union has blocked a lot of reforms that need to be made over the years. And I am opposed to them having a stranglehold on education.
Anyone want to say anything further on this?
I do.
Go ahead.
Let me say one shot. It'll be short. You got more to say than I do. Checking my campaign fund. There's no money from the TEA. There's no money from the NRA. There's no money from the Tea Party. It's me and the people in Jefferson County who support me, and in Sevier County who support me. Thank you very much.
And following up with that, there's no donations in my campaign account from the TEA or the NEA or any organized labor unions. In fact, I'm opposed to organized labor in so much that they have the ability to strike. Because once they have the ability to strike, that forces government into contracts that we can't afford, and it just comes right back on the taxpayers' back, and they're forced to pay us. So I can assure you that I'm not going to support unions in so much that they have the ability to strike or any organized labor organizations.
If I could ask a follow-up, has the Tennessee Education Association, on behalf of teachers, done anything that you object to any of the candidates? What specifically have they done has it done on behalf of teachers that you find objectionable? The Tennessee Education Association.
I wonder that myself. What they've done that raised the ire of the legislature.
Mr. Griffith.
The TEA and NEA supports things like Planned Parenthood, teaching sex education in our schools. They support homosexuality. They support a lot of different things from a national level. And their legislative policies are not only liberal, but also at the state level. For many years, the Education Committee couldn't get anything out of committee unless the Teachers Union approved it. So I think our legislators need to be accountable to the people, not to the unions.
Well, when I was growing up in public school, I didn't learn about homosexuality. I certainly wasn't pushed towards Planned Parenthood. In fact, I don't even think I'd heard the word contraceptive until I was probably 15 or 16 years old. And I found it really funny coming from a person that knows so much about public education when he has as much faith in public education as to send 0 of his kids there. Okay, so I don't appreciate folks coming in and bashing our schools and bashing our educators, our administrators, and on something that I feel that it doesn't have grounds to do. I have a child in public education right now. I believe in our teachers, I believe in our administrators, and I believe in our children, and I'm going to have their back no matter what.
Mr. Boggs, anything?
The TEA it combines that drive up the cost of education in the state. Right now, the TEA is fighting with the state over how we're going to evaluate teachers. The TEA says the only people that can evaluate teachers are teachers. Well, I think that's a bunch of bull. I think parents are pretty good evaluators of teachers and the students. And I don't see that they do a lot of good. I think they do a lot of harm, to be honest with you. I think the individual teachers are fantastic. I support them individually. But the collective associations perform the way they do. You saw what happened in Michigan 4 months ago. Fortunately, that thing got broken apart. That's going to happen all over those northern states because they're a hindrance to the survival of the state.
Did you have something, Mr. Griffith?
Yes, in responding to Mr. Farmer's comments, obviously he hasn't separated the teachers union and the teachers because I spoke specifically about the teachers union. And we've got great teachers and we need to support them. And I've done a lot at a local level in Jefferson County as a county commissioner to support teachers and to support education and the funding. We're not talking about teachers and parents and children here. In this discussion, we were talking about the teachers union, and the correct way to do that is separate the two. They're not one and the same.
Okay. Let's move on to the last question. Derek Hodges has it.
Without asking permission, I actually have 2 audience questions. We'll do one different way to make it quicker. Mo Greenwood, Seymour, I hope I read the writing correctly, has a follow-up to the DUI question. I'll ask you to raise your hand. Would you support taking the vehicle of someone who is convicted of a DUI? Would you just raise your hand if you would? Thank you. That worked well. This is another audience question, has no name on it. If elected, what specifically will you do differently than the current Republican-controlled legislature that focused largely on social issues in order to promote legislation to put Tennesseans back to work?
Well, let's see. We start with Mr. Boggs, I think, on this one.
Restate the question, please. The latter part of it.
Complicated. This one can't be blamed on me. If elected, what specifically will you do differently than the current Republican-controlled legislature that focused largely on social issues in order to promote legislation to put Tennesseans back to work?
First thing I would do is a proposal I've already made. I would work for an overhaul of the sales tax system we have in the state. Currently, 7 cents of your sales tax money goes to the state in Nashville. The local governments get to keep 2 3/4 cents. I'd like to peel a penny off that state allocation and bring it back over and give it back to the local governments. 3 3/4 cents, 6 cents. So to me, that's a fair distribution. In this county alone, that would give Sevier County about $15 additional million a year. That's significant money that will recruit businesses and can create jobs. That's what I would do.
You're going to have to repeat the question.
Keep asking, I already filed it away here. If elected, what specifically will you do differently than the current Republican-controlled legislature that focused largely on social issues in order to promote legislation to put Tennesseans back to work? So I guess the real question, maybe summarized, is what would you do to promote legislation to create jobs or put Tennesseans back to work?
Again, to create jobs, I would look towards the to create jobs, I would look again towards incentives for small businesses. I would look too for the state creating jobs to improve the infrastructure, to put the out of work back to work.
Mr. Hodges, I'd appreciate if you didn't repeat the question again. Quite honestly, I disagree with the premise of the question. The state has done a lot to promote business and jobs in the last legislative session. They've done things like cutting the budget. They eliminated the death tax. They eliminated the gift tax, reduced taxes on food. They've done a lot to create jobs. However, there are always social issues that are being addressed at the state level, and that gets a lot more attention and play in the media. But I think the state legislature did a great job working to create jobs this time, and I think there will always be those separate interests, and one gets more play in the press than the other. However, I think cutting taxes and the things they've done to reform workmen's compensation, unemployment, they did a lot of great things in this session.
I would have to agree that Governor Haslam's done a great job along with the legislature this past 2 years, especially this past year. They have gotten a lot done. Death tax was big. Governor Haslam has done a great job with supporting businesses, although I wish he'd do a little more for the smaller businesses, but I think he'll end up working his way that direction. In regards to social issues, I think that some of the things that they may have spent a little too much money on, I know that I looked up and found that our state of Tennessee had given $500,000 to build a museum, a country music museum. Do you know where that country music museum is? It's in Virginia, on the other side of Bristol. It's not even in the state of Tennessee. Also they had given $266,000 and some change for a sign for Volkswagen out in, I believe it was in West Tennessee. Guess where that sign was? On the roof of the Volkswagen plant. Their thought was to catch the passing airline traffic and helicopter traffic, and that I don't know how that's working, but anyhow, I can see that $700,000 on issues. I call them social issues because it involves people going in and out of the museum, people seeing a sign. But I think that money could have been better spent. Thank you.
Let's thank the candidates.